You probably recognize our next guest from his work on MSNBC and NBC News, and author of the New York Times bestseller, Separated: Inside an American Tragedy. That book and his reporting helped reveal to millions the dark truth of the Trump administration's family separation policy. While he's usually the one asking the questions, I'm very honored that today I get to interview the incredible Jacob Soboroff. Jacob, thank you so much for joining us.
Donna, thank you for that really, really generous introduction. And it's an honor to be here with you.
What is it about this subject, family separation, that made you feel that it wasn't enough just to report on it? You had to write a book on it, your first book, correct?
The truth of the matter is, while I saw with my own eyes what we've all come to remember, children kept in cages under the Mylar blankets, on those concrete or linoleum floors, supervised by security contractors, literally in a watchtower, only because they had been ripped away from their parents. I didn't fully, even as a journalist, understand how this could be possible in the United States of America. I really wanted to understand better how what I witnessed with my own eyes, and then as a journalist in some measure became associated with covering how it was allowed to happen, so that, honestly, so that it never happens again.
So Jacob, tell us about the moment when you first realized the scale and the scope and the impacts of family separation.
Oh, I'll never forget it as long as I lived. I walked into Casa Padre, a former Walmart in Brownsville, Texas, on June 13th, 2018, 250,000 square feet, 1,500 boys living inside for 22 or 23 hours a day, depending on the day of the week. You know, I have been inside jails and a prison. This place is a shelter, but effectively these kids are incarcerated. And that's when sort of something switched inside of me, and I realized something is not right here.
You open your book with the line, "I'm an unlikely eyewitness to one of the most shameful chapters in modern American history." So tell us why, in your view, the Trump administration's treatment of immigrant families stands out to you as one of the most atrocious human rights violations in recent years.
And I think that can't be underscored enough, both for the book and subsequent to the book coming out. That was expressly to cause harm to families in order for them to stop coming here.
I want to talk a bit about PHR's research and analysis on family separation, which you have cited extensively. And in your book, you write about PHR's conclusion that family separation in the cases we studied constituted torture. I understand that you stopped the presses to ensure that PHR's finding was added to your book. Why did you feel it was so important?
That you all, as medical experts, had come to the conclusion that what the Trump administration did was indeed torture. It made perfect sense, once I heard it, but it wasn't a word that ever sort of had literally crossed my lips. You don't want to believe that the United States government is perpetrating something so heinous as torture. This is medical professionals reinforcing something, giving something a name that I had seen myself, and that these families, 5,500 families, more than that, had experienced themselves.
And in the last few years, PHR's Asylum Network has skyrocketed. These are clinicians who volunteer their time and their clinical expertise to provide medical and psychological evaluations that support an asylum seeker in their legal case. There are now 1,900 volunteers in our network, and many are watching this now. Is there a message that you would share with them?
There is no more powerful messenger than a clinician or a medical professional in telling the story of this case outside of the families that were affected themselves. To hear from someone who cares first and foremost about what this means for children and what this means for families and just for human beings, from a medical, psychological perspective, it really is invaluable. And I think that we wouldn't be here talking about this today, still all these years after, had doctors not spoken up, both in the heat of the moment, but also to talk about the long-lasting implications of this policy. And I'm certain of that.
I just have one final question for you. What is the question that everyone should have asked you but hasn't?
How will my children learn about and remember this? And I think that, I don't know for sure, but my hope is that they'll remember it or be taught it in school amongst a long line of atrocities perpetrated by the US government on people who have been marginalized in our telling of history. But I hope family separations will one day be a part of that list. And I hope that the history that we tell, just like the Shoah Foundation did with the Holocaust, it will be told by the families themselves.
Jacob, this is why I introduced you as the amazing Jacob Soboroff. Thank you so much, really, for all that you do. And we look forward to following your reporting efforts to secure justice and accountability for family separation, because I know you're going to continue to work on this and you won't give up. So thank you so very much.
Donna, thank you. And thanks to Physicians for Human Rights, to everybody for all of the work that you do. I'm really deeply appreciative.
Thank you.